All right, man. Got my
There we
coffee
are.
here. Ready to rock and roll, my brother.
Well, I mean, we're already rocking and rolling is really what's happening.
Yeah, I guess we can't make it seem like we haven't been talking for the last hour and a half, getting ready for this. But of course, we want to welcome everybody to Where's Your Heart? We appreciate you guys chiming in for our second episode, season 1, episode 2. And we really appreciate all the listeners, the viewers that we've had. It's interesting. So we did this a week ago, and within 1 week, we've had over 3,700 views without any type of advertising, without any type of announcements. So that just goes to
Mhm.
show that with all the things that are going on, with all the narrative that we have out there right now, there is a huge place for where our heart is, for where our soul is, how we actually feel, and not the narrative that's being fed to us by a lot of different people with a lot of different intentions from a lot of different directions. So if you
Mhm.
know anyone, if you like someone, if you don't like someone, if anybody who you think needs to have a heartfelt conversation in a respectful space with everything that's going on right now, we just ask that you share this, whether it be right now during the live stream and or after we post it on the YouTube channel. And so I guess that's the end of Torian's commercial before we get started. Anything you want to say, bro?
Well, I mean, just to tag on to that, I mean, I'm looking away because we're still manual on all this stuff what we're doing. But all I did was go to the live stream on our Where's Your Heart Facebook page,
Mm,
and I click share and start a watch party, and it goes right to my page. So that's always an option in addition to the traditional ways to share. Today we're also on Twitch. I just checked that.
okay.
It's a thing, y'all.
We're
It's
ready.
happening.
We're ready. We're ready. Let me
So,
start the timer that I said I was going to start.
oh, all right, I see you.
I'm already messing up our production.
All right, you doing gratitude first? Do you want me to go?
You got it, man. You got it. You got it. Roll with it.
All right. Well, I mean, so the stuff in my gratitude bucket this week. I think the two things that stick out to me are Supreme Court decisions, both the decision that upheld the Dreamers staying in this country. One of the like we talk about a lot of different racisms in our work here, but that's one of those areas where racism is loud and clear these days in deciding who has the right to come to this country. There's a long history, of course, just like everything else in our country, of criminalizing things that didn't used to be criminal. And border crossing is one of them. It was a way of manufacturing criminals so that, boom, you have our country has our slave labor pool.
Right.
So just deeply thankful for that decision. That so many people who are an important part of this country and whose lives are protected and are much better because they are here. Um, are able to stay. And then, of course, there's a Supreme Court decision on Tim. Good to see you, man. The Supreme.
Appreciate it,
I'll
man.
give a huge shout out to the LGBTQ decision that came down from the Supreme Court this week. Also, just the fact that people of many different walks of life, all the full variety of human should be protected, have to worry about getting fired. And that decision was a big one this week.
Mm,
The more we uphold basic human rights, basic human ways of being, the better off we all are. So
mm,
I'm deeply grateful for that one as well
mm.
too.
Wow,
What you
appreciate
got?
that, man. Well, grateful, as I mentioned before, just to the viewers and the listeners that we had last week. I
Oh,
was, I mean, really, it really meant a lot to me. Just people, places from different places, friends, ex-colleagues. There's so many different people that we had in our network that really reached out and were like, "Hey, listen, we enjoyed the show. Here's some feedback. Keep going." Just words of encouragement, words of affirmation. So I'm always grateful for that because I do fundamentally believe that where our attention goes, grows. And I know there's a lot happening right now, but we
mm,
are making a very conscious choice, an
yeah.
intentional choice to focus on positive things, things that are going to move us in the right direction, but also things that are very candid. So I'm just grateful for that. But along with that, I'm also grateful for Juneteenth, the day itself,
Mm,
which which I've been celebrating for a while, and that's a new holiday for a lot of different people these days. And it's all love. It's all love with that. But the fact that people are celebrating it, people have reached out. I have friends of all different backgrounds and races who didn't know about it, and what I really are grateful for is that they felt comfortable enough coming to me and saying, "Hey, you know what? I've never heard of this. I didn't know anything about it. Can you give me a little bit more information? Can you teach me a little bit about it?"
Mm.
And that in itself is an extension of trust. And I'm grateful for that, man. Anytime someone extends trust to me, I really find it as my responsibility and my duty to uphold that, regardless of the nature of our relationship. So that I'm extremely grateful for, and have a lot of gratitude, man. And also, of course, for you, just us, you being patient, um, working with me through this week. I got a lot going
Oh,
on, caregiver, all that stuff, man.
you being patient with me, my friend, like that's
Oh, listen,
seriously, Torian. This is an act of joy. Like, thank you, my
hey,
friend.
what's up, Zinda? No, thank you, man. Seriously, it's good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Yeah, you mentioned viewers last week. The big surprise one for me. I got to give a shout out to my mother-in-law, Barb. It- we don't talk politics much. I'll just say that. Not something that we do. I love her. She's an amazing human being, and so to have her, visit a space like this and to come away and to tell my spouse, "Hey, that was really neat, and I really appreciate what they're doing." It means a lot, and I think it's a testament to what you constantly want. You're striving to do with this space, um, to see how wide a circle can we hold and have space that is safe where we can practice vulnerability and come from our hearts.
Mm.
And that it's a real testament to your values and yeah, and
No,
I'm grateful.
my
Oh
brother,
yeah,
we,
yeah, but
we.
you're the one that brings that in more often than I do. You bring that in.
Well, I think it's possible. I fundamentally believe that it's possible. A lot of people don't agree, right? Especially right now. I mean, I've literally have had
Yeah.
people reaching out saying like you're absolutely wrong, and or this is not the time to be talking about this. But yeah, obviously I don't
Well,
agree with them.
and I got to say, I got to honor what they're saying there too, because
Hmm.
when we encounter things like this, there are often kind of phases of how we deal. When I say things like this, I'm talking. I guess we moved on from gratitude.
Yeah,
I think we're in the
go ahead.
last week now.
We can go right into last week now. Yeah.
When I see 5 lynchings in this country that we know about in the same week, um, there's something happening that is terrifying to me.
Hmm.
There's something drastic and dangerous that is happening in this country right now. And
Hmm.
so I deeply respect the fact that within the Black community, there are conversations happening that I'm not privy to. And okay, I get it.
Hmm.
There's a time and a space to shore each other up within our group, within our affiliation groups. And when we're under attack, as I believe as Black Americans are right now,
Hmm.
in a much more intense way than they were, say, 10 years ago. It's different, I guess, is all I'll say. I absolutely expect that there to be pressure to have internal conversations, supporting each other, loving each other, helping each other move forward in the face of some incredible shit right now.
Yeah.
So I personally I can't speak against that impulse
No,
on the part of people.
I'm with that. You know that I'm with
Yeah, yeah,
that. And I do fundamentally understand, as a person who identifies as Native Black American, that right
yeah.
now there's an internal conversation that needs to be had. What I would actually argue, that maybe we're not having it as much or as deep as we possibly can. And
Mm,
we can talk about. So actually, we've talked about having some of those topics on the show, which we will, because we're going to hold
yeah,
space for a lot of different things on here. Um, but particularly as people who identify as Native Black American male, but then also the external conversation as well. And yeah, I do believe that specific parts of that internal conversation should only be within people that are within the community and the culture. But we still have to be rooted in what our end goal is and what our intent is, in my opinion. And that
yeah.
is creating an environment of love, of acceptance, of being able to hold space for other people who don't come from where we come from. Because to me, if that's not what we're intending to do, then aren't we just inflicting the things that have been inflicted upon us for the past 600, 700 years? Is it only about revenge? Um, for some people, it may be. All I'm saying is that for Torian, it's not. That's not how I show up. I mean, I definitely
Yeah.
show up very resolute and matter of fact, and I believe what I believe. But I'm also not a person who wants to show up in a toxic way where I can't listen to other people without it being violent. And I don't mean physically violent. I mean emotionally violent inside of my soul and inside of my
Mm-mm.
body, to where I feel that emotional response start to actually lead up. So that's just how I see it, man. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, what you're just saying, it pings very hard to me to that Kimberly Jones video. Like her closing, at least the segments that I've seen, the closing of that video where she says, "Y'all lucky, we're just looking for equality and not revenge." Like, I just like there was this. I hit pause at that point and I was like, "Oh damn!"
I felt that. I felt
Yeah.
every aspect of what she was saying.
Yeah.
I get it, and I get it from the standpoint of, I grew up, I don't know, maybe 20, 30% of my life in a predominantly Native Black American area,
Yeah.
and the other thirds were in one area that was, mixed different cultures and different backgrounds, but socioeconomic was the same, and then one that was pretty affluent and pretty much Caucasian. So I'm speaking from a level of different experience, if not privilege, some people may say, and identifying with it. And I still felt everything she said to my core.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand. I get it. I get it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
can you unpack something for me? When you say Native Black American, what
Oh,
is what is this term? Yeah, I know. We
we're
haven't had
deviating
this
from the
conversation
script.
yet.
It's okay. It's okay.
No, no. Well, you've mentioned it several times, and
Mm.
say a word about that.
Okay, so I lived and worked all over Africa for about 18 months. I lived there
Yeah.
about 18 months, and I was working there just under 2 years, roughly. And when I was there, I had this framework in which I thought my experience would be when I moved. I was in Nigeria, spent a lot of time in South Africa, but I spent a lot of time in other countries around Africa as well. So in Kenya, a little bit in Ethiopia, Morocco, a little bit in Egypt. But we were working from an education standpoint. My job was to build out the businesses in these different countries. But what I thought that experience would be like when I first got to the African continent and what it was actually like was very different. It wasn't derogatory. It wasn't bad at all. In fact, it's one of the best experiences of my life. But it made me reflect on the term and the narrative that we use, right? Whether it be from Negro to colored to Black. And I asked myself, like, which one of these are actually true for me? And
Mm.
colored, no, just doesn't sound good. It just nothing about that resonated. Um, Negro was interesting because when you look at the root word, it isn't derogatory, but it's something that's been, projected to be derogatory, but I didn't really identify with it. But it really went back to Black and African American, which is what most people kind of deviate between today.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be a white South African and be from Africa, right? And so that's one thing, in that we're equating somebody's color with a continent. And if you look in Africa, even when I was in Nigeria, shout out to a friend of mine who told me this when I was there, but I didn't even know Sade, the singer, was Nigerian. I didn't know. I'm gonna be straight up. I was like, wow,
Yep.
right? She's very fair skinned. Now, I've actually had the pleasure of being able to travel throughout Nigeria. There are hundreds of thousands of Nigerians that look just like her, right? And from a pigment
Yeah.
standpoint. So anyway, so for me, it went back to Black, and then the experience of being a native Black American means that you were actually born in America. Because I do have friends that are from
Mm-hmm.
Haiti or Jamaica or the
Yeah.
islands. They identify with the experience here a little bit differently, in that they do have more roots, I feel, in their country where they come from, a sense of community around it. But a native Black American, somebody who was born here, whose forefathers were slaves in the United States, we have a strong sense of our immediate family, but it's very difficult for the majority of us to be able to go back generations and talk about different things. I would argue great grandparents beyond, it's almost impossible. And so I
Yeah.
think that's a very different experience. So for me, Native Black American is what I identify with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And
we could do a show about that too, because some people
well,
would
yeah.
agree, some people wouldn't.
Well, and but that's exactly, I think, the space that we're endeavoring to hold here. Is that the point is, how do we individually experience the world in addition to the light or the stuff that is projected on us? Because that's the balance of the human animal as a social animal, right?
Mm,
People call me white. They don't see the parts of my heritage that are very Latino,
mm,
right?
yeah.
And that's the challenge of having that projected, and then there's the lived experience, which is often different. And
Right.
that's, I think, what's valuable. And thank you for being willing to just lay it out there and to talk about what
That's
it's
why we're
like
here.
to. Yeah, no, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I really
And then
appreciate
for me, my lived experience, I'm very much no one would think I was anything but black, right? I mean, I know my face. I'm pretty chocolate person, right?
that.
And probably so. But yeah, I think there are different experiences, and then we can get into colorism. I mean, there's a lot of different ways we can start to dive into things. So obviously
Yeah.
we have an agenda a little bit on this show. So
We do a bit. All
you
right.
know,
So let's see. What do we want to? Should we move to our next thing? Yeah.
well,
Hey, you look at you. You're going.
yeah, I'm rolling through it, but no, I definitely want to keep on this week because we got a few things
Yeah.
like you and I talked about. So here in the Chicagoland area, you have
Oh God. Yeah.
I think they said 67 people that were shot in Chicago this weekend. Out of that 67, 11 were killed. So there's a lot happening in a lot of different directions, and the lynchings. I mean, there's so many different things we can talk about. We can get into with
Yeah.
that. So I know you and I were talking a little bit about that. What are your thoughts around, or what are your feelings really around the stories around the lynchings and how that's being portrayed to the public?
My, I mean, first off, my feeling is, how the fuck is this happening? Like, it's total disbelief, um, which comes with all sorts of things for me, including my white guilt and all that other shit. But there's that part of me that just can't believe that this is the year 2020
Mm.
and shit like that is happening. And it's it's shock, it's disbelief, it's rage. Leslie, yeah, no, you on it, man.
My guy Saul said, he said, I was born in Libya and keep forgetting that I'm also African. Yeah, this is my
Wow,
guy. I'm
yeah,
in this place right now. This is my guy right here. Yeah,
yep,
yeah. So
yep.
it's so many different ways. I hate to backtrack, but these
No,
comments
go.
are so relevant to what we're talking about, and that there's so many different ways that people, places, and things can be perceived. And
Yeah,
right now, it's an emotional time. We're addressing some very, very challenging issues, real issues that I've experienced firsthand.
yeah,
And I also think it's an opportunity for human beings to elevate. And I do understand that we're not talking about human beings right now. I get all human beings. We're talking about Black Americans, and we should be. But I also see the bigger picture and how when we rectify these things, and it's going to take time, definitely more than a few
hmm,
weeks. I mean, we got a long time to deal with this. That it helps elevate everybody's human experience. It's just
absolutely.
we just have to make sure that the people who don't really identify with that, or who are scared of what's happening with human beings right now, that we figure out a way to include them too.
Well, yeah, and which, by the way, I think is actually the same topic as the lynchings,
Mm, yeah.
because like, part of me wants to sit there and ask, what makes you so scared that you think this is a way to respond to what's going on in the world? What are you
Mm,
so scared of, right?
mm, mm,
To ask people who think that this is okay.
mm,
And then, like, my heart just go, I can't imagine what it's like to live in fear of somebody like grabbing you, and I can't imagine that. Okay, so Doreen, she's asking the question that I kept, like, when I
yep.
first saw the first couple of articles, I was like, okay, they're being ruled suicides. That doesn't sound right to me. I've never actually read about somebody hanging themselves like this.
Mm.
And then a friend of mine had a post on their wall because a friend of theirs is a coroner. I'm operating off memory here. I can't find this article right now,
You
but
got it.
operating off memory. This person is a coroner, works in a coroner's office, I think down in Houston, and they said, statistically, this would be such an anomaly.
Mm.
They said statistically, it's very unlikely that people would commit suicide in this way because it's outside the home. When people hang themselves, it tends to be their home, their garage, maybe outside chance of their own backyard, but it tends to be this kind of a personal space.
Mm.
And so to have done it outside of school, out in these public places, this person's was asserting that statistically this is very, very unlikely. And then to see 5 events like this happen in such a short amount of time, I'd love to hear from somebody who's done the research that says, okay, well, this actually was happening the whole time, we just didn't read about it. Okay, I totally get that, bias. We can just not be reading about these things. I get that, but yeah, Doreen, I'm with you. I don't see how the hell.
Yeah.
It's real hard for me to not jump to and Zenda as well. Yeah, it's real hard for me to not jump to the conclusions that we have a coordinated effort, and it's nationwide because this was from California to Texas. I can't remember where all the locations were, but it's spread out. It's not one single group in one location. There's something happening underground here that is batshit crazy, terrifying.
Well,
So,
and I think this is where Native Black Americans, particularly Native Black American men, identify. I've been in places, and I'm not going to tell this story on this podcast, but I used to live in Tallahassee, Florida for a while, and I drove all around southern Georgia. Bainbridge, I used to go through Albany, Georgia, where our guest is from, Valdosta State University. I spent a lot of time there, and I had an instance with police officers in the morning when I was driving from Tallahassee. Long story short, I had just moved from the Chicagoland area. I had an Illinois license. I was living in Tallahassee, Florida, but I was driving through southern Georgia, and the car who I had was registered to the last employee who had it, and it happened to be a woman. Okay. So the information didn't align. Long story short, I was pulled out of the car. I was working for an educational publishing company at the time. They pulled everything out of the car, all the books, all the paraphernalia that I had. I was out in the street on my knees. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning. I was on my way to work in Albany, and the officer had the gun drawn, called for backup, K9 unit. They came and sniffed the car. It was one of the scariest moments of my life because I remember thinking to myself, nobody knows where I am. And if something were to happen to me, there's nothing I could do. Like I could have literally been lynched, or not, which obviously did not happen because I didn't necessarily think that was the case. But what happens is you start to get all this reinforcing information from things that you've seen. And initially I was speeding. So I deserved to be pulled over. And I know I was speeding, right? But as it started to escalate a little bit, and as it started to become more tense, I started to think to myself, this could be really bad for me. Now, toward the end, there were a few smart remarks, but I was let go. But it was a scary moment. So I identify with how people may feel, but I also understand that I don't have that experience or that feeling with every officer that I encounter either.
Yeah.
So is it just the uniform that's triggering? I mean, and again, I know that's a very deep question, but these are some of the things that we have to talk about, especially as we start to move into our topic for this week, which is policing.
It's a good transition, man. Look at that.
Right?
All right. So we also
this or something.
as we move into our topic for today and get ready for our guest, just a reminder, please, folks, share this out to your Facebook pages. Throw in comments. We're learning.
Yes,
we're Gen Xers, but we're learning the technology. So we want to have your questions and stuff. So please do pop those questions out there. We want to know what people are wrestling with around this stuff. And we want to feature you on here.
Yes.
We want to chew on your stuff too. I
Yes,
guess.
yes, yes. So
Um,
appreciate that.
yeah. So since we're transitioning, say, what's your word on where's your heart in policing?
Where's my heart when policing?
What that smile? I'm gonna start recognizing that
Hey
smile
man, listen.
as something, man.
I, it's
There's
so
feelings there.
it's complicated. It is very
All
very
right.
complicated. It's complicated. And I'm a complicated person, so I think everything's going to be complicated. But um, like I was saying, I understand the fear that could come in certain situations. For me, how I've always tried to approach it is just that with my approach, right? Pretty much how I try to approach everything, which is I want to project some positive, non-combative energy
Mm-hmm.
when I'm approaching or police officers pull me over or something like that. Now, that does not mean that I'm not nervous. Depending on the situation or where I am, really makes a difference. Like I said, I just gave you a story about Southern Georgia, very rural place. My heart was racing, like I was sweating. It was hot, but I was sweating on top of that.
Yeah.
Um, but right now it just hurts, man. I mean, the visuals that we see, I can't even look at certain things on Facebook. I certainly don't watch the news like that. It's hard to see the people, images of people who are supposed to be upholding the law, taking the law and life into their own hands, right? Um, but when I see that, I don't say that that's every police officer, but I do say that it's enough to where there's a large community that I happen to be a part of. It's feeling it, and it feel as if it's directed directly at us as black men. And I've seen remnants of it. So it hurts because everything is so polarizing right now. It's like, man, like no one is listening to each other. You say defund the police, someone is triggered on one side, right? You say Black Lives Matter, somebody's triggered on the other side. And it's like, what I really want to ask people, where's your heart? Where's your religion right now? That's what I
Mm.
want to ask people because a year ago you talk to people and they talk about whatever church or mosque or temple they were going to, and we have all these different ways in which we talk about our higher power, and it's like now is the time to be emulating or modeling those things that we say we believe in. I just see way too much on either side that's not doing that, and that to me is kind of disheartening. um,
Yeah.
because it's like now is the opportunity in which we could do it, whether it's something you agree with or whether you don't. How do you do it with collaboration and justice and listening being at the
Yeah.
center of it? And I just don't see a lot of it, man. And so it's hard for me, bro. I mean, like last night I was crying myself to sleep just because I feel so overwhelmed with the energy of COVID-19, being a caregiver, this transition that we're having, this recognition of the plights and the struggle of Native Black Americans, and it's hard, man. It's hard to see those images, and they seem to keep coming. Wendy's down in Atlanta.
Mm.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It hurts. That's what
Yeah.
my heart is. It hurts. I want to cry right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, it's well put, and yeah, I can't do anything but affirm everything you just said.
It's painful, man. It's and then I wonder, and this kind of ties into our show, right? I wonder what it's like if you're a Native Black American male and you're a police officer. I know plenty. I have some of my friends, attorney brothers. I have a family member. Um, what is that experience like? How do you approach the situation? How do you approach people? How are you feeling
Yeah.
right now? That's the real question. You know,
Yeah. Absolutely.
just
I think that's part of what has bothered me about this whole thing is exactly that. Like, how do folks who have an intersectional identity around this topic?
mm,
Yeah, Erica,
okay,
trauma
yeah,
over and over.
mm,
Um, People who have who have the identity police officer, who have the identity uh, Black or Native Black American, and eh, you know how I operate. I love my head, and I'd love to go there with stuff. I'm gonna let myself do it just for a minute,
it's okay.
but
It's
there's
all
a huge
interconnected. It's all interconnected.
well, it is there's a huge critique out of Black feminism around how we do policing in this country, and this little bit actually comes more from the patriarchal shit, is the question of, so why do we see policing as something that as a thing that must have power over people, right? And your experience being pulled over, kneeling down, like everything that creates power imbalance. How is it that that's the way we have structured policing in this country, when the most effective forms of policing, which are literally, we hear protect and serve, we hear law enforcement, we hear a lot of those things, are actually how we partner with, we've designated this person to examine this particular part of our society consistently. That's what a police officer is. We've said, we trust you to do this work. And how do we join then with the community so that it's power with, and that's a trust thing. But it's a totally different structure than power over, which is where we're at right now.
Right.
And that has to be somewhere in this conversation for me. Because my heart, I know that when I see that power over, that's who I'm being told to be as a man. And we can't be having these conversations that we have from the heart right now. It's a direct link from exactly what we're doing. This is our little act of rebellion here. There's a direct link between this and the way we do so much of our power structure in this country.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, if you look at the history of the police officer, right? And this is not to say that this is the current state of it, but it was an overseer, right? It was the overseer, and it was for control of, at the time, it was a slave. And again, certainly don't feel that that's the intent of police officers now, at least the majority of them, or the ones that I've encountered personally, that I have a personal relationship with. But I think it's important to, we have to understand our history and how we actually get to where we are right now. Because again, going back to the nature of our conversation, we have Native Black American police officers that are enforcing the law, and they're faced with the duality of this situation, and it's amplified for them like crazy. It's amplified,
I can't imagine Thanksgiving dinner in that family. Oh man.
Well, it has to be hard, man. I don't think their voice is heard enough, So I think that it's definitely something that needs to be addressed and needs to be heard. So that takes us right into our guest that we're bringing to our show. Where's Your Heart today?
It's like you did this. I just want to congratulate you too. We're 32 minutes in. You're doing
this. Hey, I'm on the clock, bro. I told you. I said we got to get tactical. I'm all about the being in the sky, but I can get tactical too.
All right, we're in.
Okay, so for all of our listeners, all of our viewers, all the people who've been participating, we definitely appreciate it. And again, as we talked about before, if you feel that you know anyone who needs to hear any of this, coming from a heart-centered place, coming from a level of being vulnerable, being safe, being vulnerable, and holding the space for other people to be vulnerable, please pass this information along. Make sure you share it, send the links, et cetera. And I think it's important. And you'll see some of that in the guest that we're about to bring on right now. It is my pleasure to actually introduce to all of you all a graduate of Valdosta State University. He is Georgia born and bred, the owner of Total Teflon Fitness. He is one of my mighty Phi Beta Sigma fraternity brothers. And he is also a police officer in the metro Atlanta area. So he is actually living what we're talking about right now. And he's agreed to come on and be a guest of the show, talk about his experience and how he feels about policing, particularly in America, particularly right now as a Native Black American male.
Yeah.
My friend, my brother, Officer Bo Braxton. All right, we're going to bring him in. What's up, man? Hey, did I do you justice, bro? Did I do you justice?
Hey, but yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Only thing wrong, man. I'm not born in Georgia, man. I was born in Frankfurt, Germany.
Oh, you were born in Germany? My bad. Okay.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, German. Okay. It's German chocolate thing going on.
German chocolate. I like that too. I like that. That's German chocolate.
I was listening to y'all the whole 30 minutes, even though you was late 2 minutes.
I appreciate that time value, brother. I appreciate that.
You was late 2 minutes. You were saying, but then it started getting a little gloomy towards the end, man. Like, but we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it, man. We'll talk about it. Go ahead, man. This is it.
Nah, it just started getting a little dark on me, man. Just hearing about the lynching, the actual, like, I know the image everybody used to say about the modern day lynching. Nah, it's lynching in 2020, and just to see that, and it's something that I didn't know I was going to be seeing on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, having to explain to my 11-year-old son what he's seeing and stuff he saw on TV. It's just a lot. It's me being a black man and having 2 black sons. It's just a lot to show. It's just a lot to explain at a young age, especially me thinking it's 2020. How is this even happening? Like I'm saying, like, this is the kind of stuff that our folks, seen back in the day, and this kind of stuff I seen in books and in documentaries, but to see this on Facebook, and it's so easily accessible to even kids that it just hurts my heart. And it's a lot.
It's a lot, man. It is.
It's a lot. Trust me, it's a lot. But let's go.
So I tried to do you justice in the intro. And you know, we've had some discussions around how you're showing up, what you're dealing with. Just talk to us a little bit, because you're in the metro Atlanta area. That's all over the news right now. People from all sides, up, right, left, down, north, south, east, west, are getting their version of what's happening. So really, the viewers want to hear from you right now. And so do I, as to how you feel about what's going on. And then tell us just a little bit more about, you know, how things are on a day-to-day basis.
Well, let me say this. As you said earlier, my name is Officer Braxton. Everybody call me Bo. When you meet me on a cop point of view, people call me Officer Bo. But I've been a cop, almost 11 years in South Atlanta, in Clayton County. Recently, I moved, transferred to a new agency that's still in Clayton County. It's called Morrow, City of Morrow. I've been there for the past year. The situation that's going on in Metro Atlanta is different depending on which area you're in. You know what I'm saying? It depends on what type of community you have and which type of agency is being ran in that certain area.
Okay.
And so, me personally, I know a lot of officers with Atlanta PD. I know a lot of officers in Metro Atlanta, period, because me dealing with different units that I've been on for the past years, I come in contact with so many different officers in all different jurisdictions in Metro Atlanta that I get their opinion and get their perspective of what's going on in their department. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I would say this: my department is nothing like what's going on nationwide, in my opinion. We have a smaller department. I think it's probably like 35 of us in the department. And the mindset everybody got in my department is basically I would say they're on the level headed like me, but they're on the mindset of our chief. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to departments, your chief is the leader. Your chief is going to hire whoever he feels is best for his department and best for his community. That's why he brought me on. You know what I'm saying? So with him being the chief, him being the leader, his mindset, he's trying to get officers to have, I would say, the same exact mindset, because nobody's going to think exactly alike. But he's going to bring people in that's going to be best fit for what he needs done in his city. So that's why I feel as he brought me on, because I'm the middle person. You know what I'm saying? Like,
elaborate a little bit on that. The middle person. What does that mean?
You ain't getting easy off. You ain't getting off easy on this.
I would say I'm the link to make everybody understand both sides. You know what I'm saying? Me being, as you can tell, I am melanated. You know what I'm saying? I look like Rich over there. I got my glasses on, but as you know, like I said, I'm a black man, but also a police officer. I've been a black man for 36 years. I think I got that down pat. And, and I've been a cop for 11 years. So everybody likes to come to me for my perspective or my opinion on things. Whether they want to hear it or not, that's not my problem. But I'm very open on all my social media outlets. I'm very transparent on everything I say and everything I do. You know what I'm saying? Me, I've grown accustomed to being myself, whether I'm in uniform or out of uniform. I still tell jokes. I still can be serious. Like I can do. It's so many different hats I can wear while wearing this uniform, not wearing this uniform.
But how do you identify with being a native Black American and being a police officer at the same time with the narrative that's happening right now? That seems almost impossible to me. I've never been a police officer. I've never been in the military, but it seems almost impossible right now.
At times it feels impossible, but you gotta move different. You know what I'm saying? Like I said that in the video a couple of days ago, that with what's going on right now on both sides of the spectrum when it comes to citizens and cops, it's 2020. You know what I'm saying? We gotta move different. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can't understand the climate of what's going on nationwide, then this career shouldn't be for you. If you can't recognize what's going on, and this is what I say. I don't need you to agree with everything I say. I don't need you to agree with everything that's going on, but I need you to understand, come from an understanding perspective of what's happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like with the riots, the protests, and the looting. Trust me, I don't agree to a lot of it, but I understand why everybody's so upset. It's relatable. I know. I get it. Handle your business. I don't even get upset when I see a lot of stuff on the news because I understand people are upset and people handle anger totally different. Whether it's right or wrong, I can't say it's right or wrong, but I can say I understand why. I know why you pissed off.
Right.
I'm pissed off, but I can't go out there and burn stuff up. You know what I'm saying? Me, I gotta stay level headed because at the end of the day, tomorrow I still gotta put on this badge and gotta still go to work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So me, with the career field that I chose, like you said, me growing up in South Georgia,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? The career decision that I chose, that I have to be level headed when I put this bag of gun up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's sad, but us as officers, we gotta push our emotions, our feelings aside and get the job done. But sadly, a lot of officers don't know how to do that. A lot of officers don't have outlets where they can throw all their issues on, you know what I'm saying, and be able to go to work the next day. Some officers are taking all their anger, strife, and egos and scary mentalities and taking it on the job with them, and it's putting them in all types of effed up situations. Me, a lot of stuff don't really bother me because I get to a point where I don't want to say I don't care, but it just doesn't bother me. You know what I'm saying? I would say I've grown numb to a lot of stuff, but what really kicked everything back up was the Floyd incident. Mr. Floyd incident. So that was probably the most gut-wrenching incident that really hit me home. To me, to really, really, really start pushing, being transparent of what I do at work, why I do certain things at work, why other officers do certain things at work, just so people who don't know me can get a better perspective of not all cops are like that. You know what I'm saying? Like me, I live by the same code since day one. I've been a cop since early 2010. My job is to come to work, do my job as best as I can, you know what I'm saying, and go home. but also whoever I come in contact with, make sure they go home also. Now, whatever happens in between there, it is what it is. But my whole job is to enforce the law. See, a lot of cops got a mentality of they're so gun-ho about the job that they forget that the whole job is protect and serve. They think they're not saying all cops, but some cops. No cops I came in contact with, because I've been working by some amazing men and women for years. You know what I'm saying? Even from the sheriff's office to the city of Morrow. You know what I'm saying? So their mentality is that I am the law. You do what I say. Oh,
that sounds like Judge Dredd, man.
No, man, no, brother. You can't be like that. I am here to enforce the law. Yeah. Now, while I'm enforcing the law, I can enforce the law however I see fit.
Okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper into that. However I see fit, though, right? And you know where I'm going with this, because let's take it back to what you said with the uniform. I'll pose this as a question. Okay. What does the uniform do? I love that cup. Go Mike. I love it. Yes, we throwing those shots out, you know. Most trusted fraternity in the world. But what does the uniform do for the personality of the person that puts it on, in your opinion?
It makes it bigger.
Elaborate a little bit on that too.
It makes it more louder. It makes it more boisterous. It makes it more I'm trying to think of the right word, but it just makes it 10 times more than what it was before. You know what I'm saying? Me, if you met me before I was a cop, I was a frat boy. You know what I'm saying? All I wanted to do was party. That's all I wanted to do was party. Party and tell jokes. You know what I'm saying? But I can be serious at times, but that's all I want to do was get everybody together. Everybody who get together, share memories, you know what I'm saying? Make memories, getting together, hanging out, telling jokes, you know what I'm saying? Handling business, doing meetings, that was me from high school. Like if you talk to anybody that knew me in high school, I did the same thing I was doing in high school is the same thing I'm doing now, but now I got money now. Now the party's a lot better. but when it comes to cops, if you are a comedian, if you are
racist,
you're going to be that whether you have the badge or the gun. Either way. If folks get this misconception that once they become a cop, the old self goes away. No, it's just heightened now. Yeah. You have that sense of, especially if you're racist, you have that more sense of power to be the law. You know what I'm saying?
But we got to understand, and I'm sure you do. Well, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Royce. But that can be not only dangerous, that can be toxic to people if that's what the uniform is doing to some people, to a large enough community for a larger community to feel as if this is something that's systemic, right? And how do we start to rectify that, Royce? I would love to hear your thoughts on some of this too.
We as a like we try to rectify what the.
Well, okay, so let me pose that as another question, because I'm sure as we talked about this last night, we could probably sit on this for 4 or 5 hours. But so when I say defund the police, what does that mean to you?
It's something that's not gonna happen.
Okay, elaborate.
I understand what everybody is so angry and upset with the police nationwide. I dig it. I honestly understand 100%. You upset, and the first thing that comes to mind, let's get rid of all of them. Let's defund the police. Let's abolish them. We can do it on our own. But I want you to think about this. The folks that are saying this are people that got some type of sense. You forget that the real criminals, the ones that you don't see because the violent criminals that's floating around, they out. and they're preying on the weak. You know what I'm saying? Like, the only reason I got in this job was to protect the weak. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So when I hear defund the police, I'm back to the mentality. I understand why you're saying that. I don't agree to it, but
Well,
I don't argue with people when they say. I don't argue with
all
people.
right.
Go ahead, Roy.
I want to jump in with you on this one because I'm all over the place on this. Like, there's part of me, the first time I heard defund the police, I was exact same reaction. Oh, that's never gonna fucking happen.
How and why?
Right? Okay. Well, and so I had to start doing some research because there's also like how we do policing in this country is, and I'm speaking kind of at a generalized level here, I feel is fundamentally flawed. And some of it goes back to roots, as Tori mentioned, like where the notion of policing comes from this country.
Exactly.
Some of it comes from, like we had a conversation yesterday about you have choices as an officer as to how you respond in situations, and a lot of people choose choices that escalate a situation toward violence, and those are personal choices as an officer, and how you make that judgment call, man, that's a thing. And like the power structure in general. So you got all this shit mixed up. So I started doing, I'm new to this subject. Yeah, Alyssa, that was what I found too, is that this isn't necessarily what defund the police means. And so I'm having to kind of redefine what I'm asking for from police departments. I want to see, I don't want to see armored vehicles in our police department. Like, we have National Guard. If there's something going on like that, demilitarization of the police. I think that's an important tidbit of this. There was a department in New Jersey where what they did essentially was decide that they needed a wholesale change in their police department to the point that they let all the officers go and then reopened hiring, but totally changed their training and their cultural kind of values around how we do policing. I don't know much more than that. I read like one article. I'm the expert on it. No, I'm not. But there's some things around stuff like that. So what happens when officers, for example, when you have huge swaths of your ops, we got 900 officers, 1,000 officers here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. What happens if the majority of them are not carrying a gun on the street? Right. And now I know we're going to have to go there. Camden, New Jersey, we're going to have to go there. But it, I was actually looking at joining the police force here, not because I think I'd be a good cop, but because the cops that I know, family and friends that I know who are law enforcement officers, they often end up doing the work that I love doing, which is more along the lines of social work stuff.
Right.
Right. And so the question becomes, so how do we transform policing to and reallocate funds? Like, okay, here in New Mexico, our mental health stuff is just non-existent. And so again, why are we asking a law enforcement officer to be this person's psychiatrist or interventionist in a dangerous mental or emotional situation? This is a recipe for disaster. And that's what we're seeing, right? So defund the police means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So we have to kind of tease that out of people. What it means to me right now is we demilitarize the police. Like, they don't need, if we are sending our law enforcement officers into those situations where tactical military stuff is what's required, maybe we have a conversation about what SWAT needs. Right?
And that's what I'm trying to say. The actual officers that's on the ground, like the grunts, we're not as militarized as the SWAT team. The SWAT team has their own military mindset. Like, this is my uniform at work. You know what I'm saying? It's a regular uniform. So
it shows up. Yeah. So it shows up in, for example, the way we see police treating protesters, right? We expect our protesters to be peaceful, but we don't have the same expectation of our police officers when they're engaging, even around things like curfew, which we can have a discussion about whether curfews should be done. But all right, but the engagement there is fundamentally flawed. So here in Albuquerque, the mayor just proposed that they're gonna shift the funding. They're gonna hire, we're under the estimates for how many police officers we should have for this town is like 13 or 1400. And it sounds like he's starting to head toward, okay, cut the police force down a little bit, but instead hire 400 to 600 social workers to do things that are really outside what a law enforcement officer should be asked to do.
Me, honestly, I wouldn't want to put anybody in that type of situation to send social workers out into chaotic situations.
But here's the question: how would it work? Like,
but what I would do,
yeah,
I would get officers who have this actual background to go to situations like that. Because a lot of people think my degree was in criminology or criminal justice. No, my degree was in sociology.
Yes.
My degree was in social work.
Social studies was my favorite class in school too. I love social studies. I'm with you, bro. I understand.
But I would. It's just me. I wouldn't want to put from the situations that I've been called to that start off as calm and collective, just like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Situations change so quick that whoever's there is gonna put themselves in harm's way. And me personally, it sounds like a good idea. It sounds like on paper it sounds good, but in reality, coming to these mental folks' homes and coming to these situations, stuff like that, I wouldn't feel comfortable putting somebody in harm's way to a point where they're in danger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, in my head, I'm like, it's got to be a teamwork thing. Like,
now, if you saying send an officer out with someone that does that for a living, I can see something like that. No, I can see something like that working.
Okay.
But you saying just send out a social worker by herself at 3:00 in the morning?
oh yeah,
no, because if something goes bad, they're there by themselves. So that's basically putting more people in harm's way.
So let's take this to what happened in your city or around your city in the Wendy's parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that. So that was an engagement that started off peaceful. It seemed very okay, like they're talking. A man is a little drunk or whatever the case may be. Inebriated. They are trying to rationally do this, and this happened for a substantial amount of time that they were having this conversation, and it turned to something completely different. So talk to us a little bit about what you saw as a police officer, specifically as a Native Black American police officer.
And by the way, I've never heard that title before. That's pretty.
Hey man, I think it's some weird stuff, right? You know.
I heard you talk about it earlier. I said I've never heard of a Native Black man.
Mind of Torian, it goes a lot of different places. Trust me, most times people don't want to know.
It's all good, but the Wendy situation, man, that was probably it's sad because it was like a week after, the George Floyd incident. It's like us as cops got to do a little bit more use of common sense and discretion. I'm big on discretion, and I'm explaining a lot more as I go through speaking with you. But that incident, it could have been handled totally different in totally different other ways, but it happened. So now everybody's Monday quarterbacking. I don't know if you heard that term, Monday quarterbacking. You ever heard that term?
Oh yeah.
Monday quarterbacking of what they would have did, how they would have did it, why he do this, why he did that. And honestly, coming from a cop's point of view, he did. But let me say this. I'm trying to get my words.
Say it, man. Say it, bro. It's okay. This is safe space.
I get my words right. Let's just say this. I would have done things totally different. From initial contact, I would have done things totally different. I've done it before. I've done it. I came across a DUI last night that I shared on my Facebook. You know what I'm saying? It's just the fact that, because me, I'm transparent. I'm gonna tell you what's good. I'm gonna tell you what's right. I'm gonna tell you what's wrong. I'm gonna tell you what's bad. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, if you want to go strictly by the law, I'm not talking about public opinion. I'm not talking about how I feel about things. If you want to go strictly by Georgia law, because a lot of people don't know Georgia law, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
If you go strictly by Georgia law,
Yeah.
he did everything right by Georgia law. By Georgia law.
It's a powerful statement. It's a
Me
powerful statement.
personally, I wouldn't have done none of it. But like I said earlier, just because I don't agree, don't mean I don't understand. You dig what I'm saying?
Well, so there's something missing here, because we got Georgia law sitting there, and
Right.
as a law enforcement officer, that's obviously a responsibility to bear.
Right.
I hear you coming also from the perspective of being a human being.
Common sense.
Right.
Common sense ain't always so common.
So say a word about that. Like, how do you keep that present in pressure situations, in situations where your life might be in danger? Because I want to be clear, it's unacceptable for me to somebody that police officers work for me as a taxpayer. It's unacceptable for them to come home dead. I can't have that either, right?
And I agree in the way I feel wholeheartedly. Like I said, it's my job to enforce the law however I want to enforce it. And when I enforce the law, I got two jobs to make sure it happens. While me enforcing the law, to make sure I go home safe and to make sure you go home safe. That's my job. So
see, that's a human thing. That ain't a law thing.
That's why I said earlier, I am not the law.
Yeah.
I'm here to enforce the law. Before, at the end of the day, I'm a human. Common sense ain't always so common.
Mm-hmm.
You can be as educated. You have PhDs, all these degrees, master degrees. You can't teach common sense. Period. And when it comes to the law, and when it comes to interactions with citizens, if you use common sense, I guarantee a lot of these situations that's going on nationwide, it won't even happen.
So we got a few comments, as you can see, about the law, right? So and we talked a little bit about this when we were talking about the podcast. Explain the brevity of the law, in just specifically in Georgia from your context, but how it can be really applied across different states. Because I'm not that well versed on any of that.
Which part? Which part of Georgia law?
So you said that in that situation, he was 100% within the law, right?
Law.
Right. So legally. So then would the conversation or the question be, well, what does that say about the law? Like, are the laws bad in some cases, or?
All right. So when it comes to the law, I wouldn't say the law is bad.
I see that smile though.
The law is bad, but you got to think about when these laws was written.
Okay. Tell us more about that, please.
The laws weren't written last year. Laws weren't written when I was born in '84. Laws weren't written when y'all were born, even though y'all know y'all older than me.
I was born in '86, bro. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I know I ain't about to go there.
I'm joking.
But laws wasn't written in this era. You know what I'm saying? So the laws were written back in the day for certain reasons. You know what I'm saying? The laws wasn't written for 2020 encounters. So with me, I'm able to read the law, interpret the law how I need to interpret it. Because the law book is so complex and big that you have to interpret it in your own way. So the way I interpret things, I'm able to enforce that however I please. If cops get to a point where they can start enforcing the law how they want to, and not just enforcing what they read in the book. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's sad, you know what I'm saying? But it's a lot of things that we can do. It's a lot of options in regards to the law. It's a lot of wiggle. It's so much wiggle room because it's your own interpretation. But as long as you stay on the guidelines of the law, you good. Ain't gonna be no issues. It takes away.
And I mean, when you say back in the day, when these laws were written back in the day, let's be real clear about what that means. These laws were written under Jim Crow. I mean, if we're talking about
Right.
right, like, so also talking about laws that all of these laws are on the books since the 13th Amendment, which we all want to celebrate as saying, okay, you can't have slaves anymore. But if you read the 13th Amendment, it also specifies unless you're in prison, which means as long as we imprison people, we can enslave people. So, and when we're talking then about Jim Crow, and we're talking about laws that are all back to that, like, what the hell do we do with that?
Hmm.
So yeah,
And I
so
think these are some of the comments that
listeners,
people are making too.
yeah,
My
like
bad.
I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I also, like, seriously, some of these laws, their intention on at a certain level was to get people back into slavery, and that's still at work, right?
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, that's why what I said when it comes to the law, if you interpret it certain ways, I'm trying to give.
Just say it, man. It's okay. Just say it. Just say it,
Do you have
bro.
a specific example? Like, do you have a specific example where you can just lay out, like, because Erica's mentioning, case law dictates interpretation, which my understanding of a lot of that is there's a difference between the decision on the street as an officer and decision in courts. There's a lot of difference there.
All right, so I said earlier that people got to move different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. All right.
I said people got to move different. People got to move different because what's going on nationally. People got to move different because what the laws are currently on the books. People got to move different because the climate of what's going on between cops and citizens across the board. People got to move different. You know what I'm saying? So with me, for instance, the incident with Mr. Brooks in the Wendy's parking lot.
Yes, sir. Elaborate.
All right. Elaboration.
Talk to us, baby. Come on now. It's good stuff. Talk to me, baby.
I'm gonna talk about my incident last night. Then I'm gonna go back to Mr.
All right.
Okay.
So last night, I was on shift. As you know, I work night shift. I work night shift in South Atlanta. So about 3-4 o'clock in the morning, I get a call. We get a dispatch call that is a black Camaro coming up 75 South, going about 50 miles per hour. Speed limit 65. He said the car was weaving. They said it's over the dispatch. It's coming down 75 South. The vehicle is not in my jurisdiction yet, but the car is coming down 75 South. I'm listening to radio traffic. Radio traffic saying he's getting off on Jonesboro Road and taking a right. Jonesboro Road is my area. All right. So I head the way. When I'm going down Jonesboro Road, I see a black Camaro pulling into a parking lot and parking. So there's nobody on the road. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. It's a black Camaro. It ain't that really hard to know that's the possible drunk driver, possible DUI. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I pull up behind him, light him up. When I say light him up, I turn my blue lights on. I turn my spotlight on. Tell radio my location. Tell them what kind of car I'm out with. I tell them the tag and everything like that. I got the car. Go knock on the window. He rolled the window down. Hey, what's going on, man? You mind get your license and registration real quick? I'm looking at him. Got my light. I already know. So as you start talking, I smell Hennessy on his breath.
But you know the brand and everything, huh?
I know it.
I was like, that's Hennessy XO. I smell that, bro.
Yeah, that's Hennessy. He said, and I said, hey, man, you mind get your license and registration? First thing came out of his mouth with an attitude. Why you pull me over for? Bro, calm down with the attitude. Just give me your license and registration. So he gave me his license. See, he's from New Jersey. He's talking, trying to say, why you pull me over? I said, hold on tight, man, hold on tight. Look at his license. I said, man, so where you coming from? He said, I'm coming from downtown. He said, so you gonna tell me why you pulled me over? Well, if you want to know, the reason I pulled you over because I got a call from dispatch that you possibly DUI coming down 75 and you was going about 50 miles per hour. I said, so you been drinking? He said, yeah, I drank about 12 hours ago. Okay. You drinking what? He said, I was drinking some liquor. Okay. Where you coming from? Downtown. I came back from the club. So, bro, I'm talking to her. I said, bro, so you trying to tell me you came from out of town from Jersey. You went to downtown Atlanta. You went to the club with your homeboys, and you didn't have no drinks, but I smell Hennessy on your voice. I smell Hennessy on your breath. Hey, bro, do me a favor. Just stop talking. Just stop talking. Just stop talking. Because you're making the situation worse because you're lying to me. I said, hey, man, just do me a favor, man. Just stop by the car and let me talk to you let me talk to you outside the car. He was like, why I gotta get out the car? I said, look, bro, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you, man. I'm trying to help you, but I need you to step outside your car so I can talk to you. Because I'm not about to be talking to you while you sitting in the car. But I want to get the car. I said, look, I'm gonna ask you one more time. Because it seems like you trying to take it there for no reason. I'm trying to talk to you, have a man-to-man conversation with you outside the car. As he's saying this, 2 more cop cars pull up. My lieutenant pulled up, and a sheriff's deputy pulled up for backup. So they pull up, he got the car. And what I mean, I don't know if y'all noticed or not, but look, I'm 5'11", 195. This gargantuan man stepped out of this Camaro about 6'3", 340.
Oh God.
In my head, I was like, man, please, dog. I'm in my head like, dog, you is too big to be pissed off right now. So I need you to calm down. So I talked him outside the car. I said, look, man, I know you've been drinking, but I ain't been drinking, man. You can't tell me. I said, bro, I need you to do me a favor. Stop talking. Because the more you talk, the more you telling me that you are drunk. The less talking you're doing, and you just listen to what I'm saying, I can help you. I can help you without you talking. All right? So this is what I need you to do. I'm going to give you 2 options. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. You got 10, 15 minutes to find somebody to come get you and your car. But I ain't been drinking, bro. I'm telling you, you got 2 options. If you tell me you ain't been drinking one more time, I'm going to do a sobriety test. You're going to fail, and you're going to go to jail, and I'm going to tow your whip. And you're from New Jersey. That means you got to come down here 3-4 times for court. The waste of time, waste of money. I told him, look, you didn't crash. You didn't hit nobody. You didn't cause no damage. I know what you was doing. You was trying to call for some type of hookup after the club and you lost. I already know what's good.
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know what you're talking about. What is that?
I already know what you're doing. You ain't from here.
Yeah.
So and the whole time he said, "But I ain't been drinking, bro. You argue with me. I know you've been drinking. I'm looking at you."
But let me ask you this question though. Can you see how, because we talked a little bit about perception, right? So there's a lot of gray area, at least from my standpoint. If somebody's pulled over and they feel like they shouldn't be pulled over, whether they're right or wrong, and then 2 more cop cars pulled up,
it's all about safety.
I'm not even disagreeing that they should, but what I try to do is just bridge the gap so I can understand other people. So if you were a white officer, I'm sure somebody I know you're trying to bridge the gap and you're finding ways to relate, but I also could understand, even though I don't necessarily think it's correct, how if you were a white officer and you were trying to do that at 4 o'clock in the morning, that could be perceived completely different, and it could have escalated into something even worse, depending on the officer and depending on how this person is 6'3", 300 tends to react to the situation.
Right.
And that gray area for me is where it's like, where do we find solutions and how we interact? Because I've lived in a country where, police cared a little bit less than in other places. Right. And it wasn't fun. Like, you go some places and, you can pay a little bit of money and you can pretty much get whatever you want. So I don't believe in, we don't need police. I don't think that's rational at all, right? But I also think that it's a lot more than just a few bad apples that are causing these systemic problems. And I think some of our listeners and people who have watched this have said it, like digging into some of the laws that we have. Are those laws open to interpretation real time?
I got look.
We can talk about.
All right, so look, when it comes, just for the situation last night,
Mm.
it's relatable. It relates to the situation that happened with Mr. Brooks. It's my interpretation of the law while me enforcing the law. The whole point of DUIs is to what? Get a drunk driver off the road. Point blank. If you've been drinking and there's wiggle room for me to help you, it's for me to get you off the road. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What I did when I came in contact with him, after I had to break it down to him. Look, if you go, basically what you want to do? You want to go to jail? You want to go home? Because if we do the sobriety test, I'm going to take you to jail because I already know you drunk. I already know you've been drinking. Mm-hmm. But to save us the time of me going through all that, because I already know, because I've been around drunk people before. Mm-hmm. I've been at the club. I don't know
what you're talking about, but I don't know.
I know Sigma's like Hennessy. but it's relatable. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So since it's relatable, I know I can be like, hey, bro, look, call somebody come get you. After he agreed to call somebody come get him, all I did was take his keys. Took his keys, I backed up, and I just waited. Because at the end of the day, it's me enforcing the law. He didn't do no damage. He didn't crash. He didn't hurt nobody. He was going 50 miles per hour because he don't know where the hell he was going. He might have been, he was drinking. I was saying earlier at the club, all he was trying to do was get home. You know what I'm saying? And me personally, I'm not gonna take it there unless you make me take it there. Because I have options.
So here's a question for you. So I just saw Erica's comment. I ain't getting out of the car. Period. It's my safety. So I mean, there's a bigger issue here. But my first question to you, Bo, is like, what's important about having somebody in that situation step out of the car?
Hey, look, I can't tell everybody how to police. I can't tell everybody to listen to, you know what I'm saying, listen to what the cops say. Cops be wrong sometimes. But it's hard to tell people what to do when it comes to certain cops. Cops don't do a lot of cops. Well, not saying a lot of cops. Some cops don't have the mentality like me. So with me asking you to get out the car, you might feel a bit more safer than somebody else asking you to get out the car. But
well, and I mean, my immediate assumption with Erica's question is I feel like a woman. But Erica, if you want to clarify, I'd love to hear your clarifications. I'm operating on the assumption that as a woman, I feel less safe getting out of the car.
Okay, well, let me tell you this.
Yeah.
If an officer asks you to get out the car, and you've been drinking, and you don't get out the car, let me tell you what's going to happen. That's why I said earlier, I said, look, man, if you want me to take it there, I'll take it there. If I ask you to get out the car, I'm going to ask, I'm going to tell, that will make you get out the car. I'm going to give you 3 tries to get out the car, and that's cops across the board. We're not going to be arguing with you back and forth. Get out the car. Well, I'm not arguing with nobody. I don't like to argue with nobody. I'm not yelling. I'm not doing all that. I'm going to ask you to get out the car. If an officer asks you to get out the car, whether you feel safe or not, you scared, whatever, I understand why you're scared. I understand why you're scared. But I'm telling you, it's not confusing. I'm not trying to scare nobody, but I'm telling you straight out my mouth. If you tell a cop that you are not getting out the car, this is exactly what he's going to do. Stand by. He's going to walk to his car. He's going to call for backup. His supervisor's going to show up. His supervisor's going to ask you to get out the car. If you don't get out the car, it's going to be a vehicle extraction.
Legally.
Illegal, because we are legally to extract you from your vehicle. And we know that you have broken the law. And him drinking is breaking the law.
So so this is, and again, I'm not law enforcement. This is where it becomes gray. So how do you know? Because you smell it on his breath?
Because I know.
But you got to understand how that can be tricky though. So if you're that racist cop who's coming in and say, you know what, I can't lynch a black person, but I can certainly harass one. That becomes very toxic, really.
It's some cops out there that use this badge for that certain reason.
Yeah.
Me, the reason I want you out of the car because I want to be able to talk to you like a man. I'm not going to. Like I said earlier, when I talk, I want to talk to you face to face, man to man. The way I was taught when I was raised in the South, when you talk to a man, you talk to him in his eyes. If you're in my car and me trying to help you, and that means I'm talking down to you. You feel what I'm saying? So if I'm like explaining something to you, if I want to help you, I need you to talk to me outside the car and also for officer safety. Because your hands in the car, they make everybody calm. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's relaxed. Hey, bro, step out the car and talk to me. But like Erica said, she might not feel safe. I can dig it. I understand why you're not safe. But I'm letting you know that insecurity and that scared mindset is going to make the situation already worse.
Yeah, but at least I'll be alive. Okay, I mean, right? I mean, and I'm not. I know that's kind of the extreme of it, and I'm not saying that's how you operate. But for some people, especially if they only getting and seeing certain stuff,
and it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, it shouldn't.
Well, I mean, I hear that. I hear you saying, well, there is a basic safety issue as an officer too. Like when we're outside the car, I can see what you are doing. I don't have to overreact when you go to scratch your head.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Okay. I see that. And
so it's basically it's all about common sense. So this is why I had to tell folks also when they come in contact with cops. I don't got a problem with you recording me.
You don't have a problem with people with being recorded. Okay.
Know what I'm saying? If you have an issue with, if you scared or something like that, go live. Boom. Go live, record everything. I don't see no issue with that. I don't care. Just as long as you get my good side and my melanated side.
but there's a direct conflict there because as an officer you have to stay safe, and Erica's point is also like well pointed. You don't at that point, if she's in the car picturing I don't hear you telling me evidence as to what I did wrong. I ain't getting out of this car. Like I feel safe in the car.
Let me say this. Cops, there are so many laws that people don't know about that we have reason to pull you over. Just because we pull you over and you think you're in the right, trust me, we do things without thinking.
Cops do.
Because like yesterday, we was talking about it yesterday.
Yeah.
Have you ever drove home from work? You working this job for 10 years, driving the same roads, driving on the road, you blink, you in your driveway. How the hell did I just get to my driveway?
Mm-hmm.
Your mind is so in sync of doing that same thing every day.
Yeah.
You might not remember turning on your blinker.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You might not notice your tail light is out, your tag light is out. You know what I'm saying? Like it's certain things you might not have noticed that you did, but you did it that caught the eye of officers. And let me tell you this. If officers are pulling you over for minor infractions, the one thing they're trying to find out is who is driving this vehicle. Once we confirm who's driving this vehicle, you know what I'm saying, that there's no issue, your license good, your tag good, you ain't wanted, you ain't no murderer wanted out of Texas. 9 times out of 10.
Why Texas though, bro? Why you got something against Texas?
I know. Why?
I was just running random. Go ahead, my bad.
But say, well, once we find out that you good, have a good day. You good. You know what I'm saying? Like, folks say they know they rights and I didn't do nothing wrong. How do you know? Like, man, I should have brought the Georgia book. I should have brought the Georgia law book.
We definitely gonna circle back on this topic. We got a lot because we actually have some brothers, some of our fraternity brothers on here who are police officers. So I think having a larger discussion is really important.
It's
Can I ask a last? All right, so I know we got to wrap.
We can do after.
We good.
Well, we chewed on this. Can I just ask like a wrap question here? Like, from the heart, what do you want? What do you want to feel as an officer when you put on the uniform and go to work? And what do you want to feel at the end of the day? Like, what's the longing that you have for your role in our culture, in our society as a law enforcement officer? What's the thing that you hold dear there?
Across the board, I just want, as an officer, and what I want across the board for all officers to do is just do their job and just treat people as equal. You know what I'm saying? Just be human. Like, some cops are so into the law that they forget that they're human. You know what I'm saying? Me, I'm human. I make mistakes, and where I am, I'm trying. If someone made a mistake, I'm gonna try to see if I can teach them how they made a mistake and how to rectify so it don't happen again. You know what I'm saying? But across the board, I know it's gonna take some time. I just want that. Try to get some type of level of respect from citizens, but in order to get it, we gotta do our part. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're not doing our part, we're never gonna get that respect. Now,
so who should go first? Who should go first in being generous?
Us. It's us. Because that's what y'all see in the news. That's what y'all see in the media. Y'all see us. You know what I'm saying? If we don't get across the board of just having some type of humility when it comes to police encounters, this circle is gonna keep on going. I ain't never been seen this before in law enforcement. Like, I always came across the people that say F the police, but I ain't never came across the whole nation to say F the police.
But you know what? But even when NWA was saying that, I understood that in context too.
And look, like I said, I understand 100%. People are hurt. People are scared. People are hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Me, I'm not scared, but I'm hurt too. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because I'm a cop don't mean I'm not a black man that sees what's going on. So with me being a black man, I'm trying to bridge that gap while trying to help my fellow man. And by me being in this uniform, I'm able to teach people about the law, even though some of them might not want to care to hear about it. But I'm able to teach and explain and dissect if need be. You know what I'm saying? What I'm here for is to help people understand why certain things happen. Because it's easy to come from me, because people know my face and know what I'm really about. It's easy for me to explain why cops do certain things, act a certain way. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad. A lot of cops don't think like me. A lot of cops don't act like the co-workers I worked with all these years. A lot of chiefs aren't like my chief. I promise you. A lot of lieutenants and sergeants that supervise me, they're not like the ones that's nationwide. That's why I work with this agency. Because I get to say exactly how I feel, be as transparent as I want to, and so people can get an understanding of another perspective. Me being a cop, me being a black man. Everybody always asks me, yo, are you pro police? Are you pro? Look, man, all I want to do is bridge this gap and get people to understand that we feel the same way you feel. That, well, I think this is Tia. She said, do I call out the bad cops? Call out the bad cops in my agency or call out the bad cops nationwide? Because right is right, wrong is wrong. If I see a cop that messed up in a different state, a different agency, yeah, he messed up. He should have done that. But you talking about calling out people that's in my job, then There's no one to call out. The people I work beside are jam up officers. That's why you don't see Morrow PD on the news. That's why you don't see my agency on the news, because the people we work with are jam up officers. You know what I'm saying?
And just as an articulation from the outside to see very clearly, you're here in uniform on a live stream that started last week. Like we are not a known entity.
Right. We coming for all y'all.
Oh, we're getting there. But just like the amount of trust that you have from your chief that this was acceptable, like illustrates how different.
Right. Me and my chief did an open dialogue right after the George Floyd incident. We did an open dialogue. You got questions? Come on. I'm sitting side by side with her. I want you to think about this. You have never seen a chief in his grunt. I call myself a grunt because I'm on the street. I'm on the bottom of the pay scale and the title. I'm an officer, he's chief. Sitting side by side, him being a white man, me being a black man, sitting side by side with the same mindset. Now, when it comes to him, he's an amazing man. He understands the situation what's going on nationwide. He can't relate to it because he's not a black man, but he understands 100% what's going on, and he wants to know how he can make it better. How can he do his part? And I told him, you want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. Because look, I'm not no spokesman. I ain't no politician. I don't really say the right words all the time. I'm country. I cuss. My lingo is weird. My voice raspy. But I speak from the heart. And a lot of people, they just want to, they're so emotionally involved that when I speak, and I speak about why certain things happen, they're so emotionally involved, they're not logically thinking what I'm saying. Yeah. They're thinking of emotion.
Yeah. They get triggered.
Me, when I speak off of knowledge. I'm not speaking off of emotions. Because think about this. You ever got to an argument with your old lady, with your wife, and she just...
Nope.
I don't have one of those. I haven't earned the right. That's what I'm going to say to
that. Well, you ever got to an argument with your old lady, and she just, you know what I'm saying, she ain't listening to nothing you saying, or you yelling, and she ain't listening to you saying. It's like,
yeah,
it's too emotional.
That's me and my mom. That's me and my mom right now. Like I can feel it. No, I mean, what you're saying, I live it every other day. I can feel certain triggers, and I know my mom feels the same way. That she'll say something, and then it just goes.
It goes left. So the way I try to get to people, I try to talk to people level headed. I need y'all to understand where I'm coming from. Just because you don't agree with me, understand what I'm saying. I'm not biased to anybody. And I'm a black man. I'm a cop, so I'm coming from both sides of the perception of what's going on nationwide. I'm telling you, this is why they did it. I'm telling you, this is not what I would have done, but by law, this is what happened. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and some folks want to hear it, some folks don't. You know what I'm saying? But I'm at a place in my life where I'm able to express and be as transparent as possible to whoever wants to listen. Because I don't argue with nobody about what's going on nationwide. I'm not about to argue with I don't argue with nobody. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna argue with no stranger on Facebook and social media. But I'm gonna tell you what's good, and I'm gonna tell you what happens. You know what I'm saying? What's gonna happen? I'm gonna tell you there's options out there. I'm gonna tell you cause and effect. If you do this, this is what's gonna happen. If you don't want to get out the car, this is what a cop is gonna do. Whether or not you're scared or not, this is what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Just because you don't want to hear it and you think you're legally right, I'm telling you, when you say you're not getting out the car, this is plan B what's about to happen. Backup's coming and we're going to get you out the car. Folks don't want to hear the truth. Folks are so focused on what they see on social media and think they know the law because what they see on movies and social media. No, I'm telling you verbatim, this is what's going to happen.
And and to be clear, this is, I mean, your department, your Georgia law, like that's, hey,
It's across the board.
just to be clear.
It's across the board, especially in Georgia. If you say you
Yeah.
ain't getting out the car, you sure?
So, and this question actually kind of ties into the question I wanted to ask you around how can we do more of the good things? What should we be doing better, and then what should we be doing different? So this kind of ties into this question right here, who I believe is a police officer themselves, but I'm not necessarily sure. So what can we do more of? What can we do better? What could we be doing different from a police standpoint?
Well, and the notion too of what is a healthy officer, like that. I love that. That was a big ping there.
Yeah, put that back. Put that back.
What does
A healthy force, like
healthy force? Open dialogue. You talk about health as in mental wise?
I think that's where it all starts, mental and emotional to me.
How does it start? Me personally, my supervisors, who are my white lieutenant and my white chief, they're always checking up on me. Yo, Braxton, you good? Yeah, I'm good. What's up? I'm just checking on you. Some supervisors, leaders of agencies, are scared to have this conversation because they don't want to offend anybody. And I know it's like walking on eggshells because you don't want to offend your officers, but you have to check on your officers' mentality. Like you have to check on their mental health, especially your black officers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have to check up on them because they're going through stuff right now. Nationwide, it just got them all. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, be in their ear. Make sure they're good. Yo, you good? You need anything? How can I make it better? You know what I'm saying? It's like, my agency, let me say this. My team is very open.
Mm-hmm.
Every time something happens nationwide, during our roll call meeting, we talk about what just happened and how we feel about it.
So that's a cultural thing, and that's an internal procedures thing.
Well, I don't even know that's even procedure. You know what I'm saying? But I know,
okay, yeah.
I don't know the way my unit does stuff. I work night shift.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If something national that makes national news with officers involved, period.
Mm-hmm.
After we go through our roll call with what happened that morning, or that happened that day shift, what we got to do this evening, what emails came through, anything happened, you know what I'm saying, that's worth talking about. After we get done all that, we talk about anything that happened over the news that we felt as if we need to talk about, good or bad, and then we break it down to get more understanding on it. This is basically our own little Monday quarterbacking of what just happened. And then it opens up dialogue about how we feel about everything. You know what I'm saying? Like my team is made up of a white lieutenant, a black sergeant, and a white officer. And I'm another black officer. So it's 2 black guys, 2 white guys. You know what I'm saying? So both of our perspectives, our perception of what's going on is 2 totally different.
So it's interesting that you say that. So we just got a question or a comment really from another officer. He is Native Black American. He's also one of our brothers in Tallahassee.
Man, I don't want to talk to Damon, man.
Oh, you know Damon? but he has a great question though. He says, how many people feel as if they have done wrong by an officer? I haven't even heard that question be asked or answered in any of this dialogue. Not our dialogue. I just mean in general as a nation right now.
I seen that question on somebody's Facebook, and a lot of people start chiming in, and I can throw my name in there. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm from South Georgia. I grew up in Hinesville, went to school in Valdosta. Both of those are really, really, really.
I hung out in Valdosta.
Yeah, you already know. So especially Valdosta's been on the news lately. By that little incident that happened back in the day, that's coming back out. But I can say that me personally, I came across some bad officers when I grew up. I came across some bad white officers when I was in college. So it kind of motivated me more, besides my brother being a cop and some of my frat brothers, like it made me gravitate to it more, that I wanted people that look like me to see another side of what this cop life is about. You know what I'm saying? So now everybody's seeing not all cops are uptight, not all cops are mean, not all cops are rude, not all cops are racist. You know what I'm saying? Me, I'm just me. And I'm me outside his uniform and with an on. So it just
Go ahead, Royce.
So
I see it.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I'm still that question from, is it Kiona? About the like. So what Paul's what I remember was, what training and organizations. What I'm really like concerned about then, hearing what you're saying, is like what we're talking about then is the culture. Either we foster cultures in our police departments of we are human beings first,
and it starts from the top.
Right. So either we foster those cultures, because there's no magical like fix for this. You can't just hire this agency and they will come in and train your force and boom, the shit's all different.
It starts from the top. Is whatever your leader wants in his agency, that's what he's going to get. If he wants a whole department full of racist folks, he's going to get a whole department full of racist folks.
And there are people who would argue that there are departments and agency and forces that have just that.
Because you got to think about it. All these little South Georgia towns.
I've been through them. I told a story before you came on. I know all about Bainbridge, Georgia.
When I go home from Atlanta, I don't stop. I look real regular out of uniform.
I mean, I never traveled from Tallahassee anywhere after 7 o'clock at night.
And look, and just because I know where I'm driving to, so it's like these little rural areas. It's not Metro Atlanta. It's not South Atlanta. It's not Clayton County. It's not City of Atlanta. Metro Atlanta is a predominantly Black community.
Yeah.
If you go to these southern podunk towns, it's majority white communities, and the leaders of those agencies are putting people in place who have the same mindset as them.
Yeah. And I think that's what most people will fundamentally say, that is what needs to be addressed systemically. Because if that is the case in a lot of places, can you see how that can grow into something that becomes a problem systemically across different communities? I'm not saying you don't, because I know you do. I guess what we're trying to do is hold space around really this question of, you're doing some wonderful things, you associate and you relate in a very different way. What can we be doing more of? What could do a little bit better? What could we do different so that people are actually showing up different and or calling out people who are derogatory in their position?
Yeah.
If people start really listening and understanding each other across the board, me understanding you, you understanding me, you understanding that I want to go home, me understanding you want to go home, and get that same, and we get across the board and everybody's thinking the same way, a lot of this stuff can be, it wouldn't even happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, if everybody get to a mindset, get to a level-headed mindset that I just want to go home, and not say I want to go home because I don't want to be here. Just say whatever you can do and say, and how you say it, it's gonna say that, it's just gonna scream that basically I want to go home. So this is what I'm gonna do for me to go home, for you to go home, and this is what I'm gonna do for you so you can go home. You know what I'm saying? But it's like there's a gray area. You know what I'm saying? It's a disconnect that some cops, not saying that they can't do it, it's just say they don't want to do it. And then the piggyback off that they don't want to do it, there's no one making them to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like me, I've been the same way my whole career. So I don't have to change for nothing. Like, I'm already the way I am.
You will one day. You will one day. So, go ahead.
Yeah, but when it comes to cops, if they if they get to a mindset where they're just here to enforce the law and not be the law, because people got a misconception that cops get extra money for arrests and get extra money for tickets and quotas and stuff like that. No, my check is the same exact. It's the same exact pay whether I get 10 arrests this week or I get 0 arrests the following week. My check is the exact same. So I don't get anything out of it. I don't get a pat on the back of, I get a bad star. No. Only thing I want to do is make sure my people that I come in contact with, that they're following the law and before me enforce the law and they safely make it to their destination. And if everybody get that same mindset, a lot of these situations that start off misdemeanor or start off minor that turns to deadly could be nipped in the bud way before we even get there.
Wow. Well,
all right.
We at 145, bro. I know we can keep going.
We wrapping. No, we wrapping.
We're gonna wrap it up. We'll come back to number 2, right? This is a good place to stop. Definitely
15 minutes. I'm gonna give you 15 minutes. Give me 15 minutes.
Go ahead, man. Okay. All right. You can.
Hey, look, I'm off. You better get it. I'm off tonight. You better get it.
All right. So we got a hard stop. We got a hard stop in 2 hours.
15 minutes. Hard stop.
So okay. So I mean, obviously I have something to say about that because I think what you're saying is right that we have to listen. We have to do those things. But I will say, again, there are people that will say that some people get out of it the ability to execute their insecurities and their fears and their hatred, and they get almost a license to do it. And again, this is coming from someone who, if you go back to what Lakeisha said, like I feel the same way. I've had bad experiences, but I will say in my chocolate skin that I've had my whole life, 75% of them have been perfectly fine, right? I had an experience last week. I actually met a brother locally here that I'm going to have dinner with tomorrow who's a local officer. So what I'm trying to do is bridge together the dialogue, because there's a lot of people that are hearing this that because we have our arrows pointed toward the middle, they're going to be a little bit upset, right? And that's what Torian doesn't necessarily understand. So I want to try to address some of that stuff too. Sorry, I mean, I feel like I cut you off a little bit.
And it's basically like what I spoke about earlier about you talking about insecurities. It's this badge fuels people insecurities. Like basically a small flame. If you're a little racist, you throw some lot of fuel in there. It's a big fire. This is what the badge does. The badge makes it more intensifies. You know what I'm saying? So now so basically if you a punk before you had the badge, somehow you think you Superman. Behind the badge you still a punk. You still a punk, but now you got about a team that's a team of brothers is going to have your back, whether you right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because coming to a situation, you know what I'm saying?
So how do you decide as an officer, like, when do you break that blue line?
That's what I was about to ask.
So let me say this. When we respond to stuff, we don't know what's going on that the first officer has encountered. You know what I'm saying? So say if we get a call of a suspicious man at the gas station. First officer arrived. He's doing everything all wrong. He hits the dude in the mouth, just off rip. Hits him in the mouth. He puts over the radio that he's what? In a fight. We arrive, we see him fighting with the dude. What do you think we're supposed to do?
Subdue the person who's attacking, who you perceive as attacking the officer. We
don't know what just happened until days later and it all comes out. You know what I'm saying? It's not like when it comes to everybody talking about this blue line. Yeah, there's a secret blue line that folks be talking about. Me, if you do wrong around me, and involves me getting in trouble, losing my job, and losing my pension, my retirement for my family, I'm snitching. I'm telling. Don't you do
Well,
don't do
I
shit.
mean, that's
Don't you break nobody's rights around me, because I'm telling. White, black, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, Asian,
there's an important thing there that you just articulate, or that I just heard at least, is the like, look, there is such a thing as little blue line, because when we walk in there, we got to be able to trust that our fellow officer was. But the challenge then too, though, is that blue line in many places is a fucking wall. Like, and it's a wall between the cops and the community. It's a thing that can never be crossed.
And then you got to think about it. In state of Georgia, I think like 65, 75% of the agencies in the state of Georgia has like 10 or less officers.
Oh wow.
Okay, you got to think about all these podunk towns. Yep. If you end up, for instance, Royce, if you are the chief of a little town, who you want to work for you? Your brother, your cousin, your homie you went to high school with, your brother-in-law. You want all these people that you know who have the same mindset, whether it's right or wrong, to work for you. Just like with me, if I was in a place, it'd be a place full of Sigmas. It'd be all Sigmas. Ain't no Qs, no Kappa. Never Sigmas, right or wrong. I'm putting all the Sigmas in the house.
I'm with you.
but Sigmas, like,
you're saying there's no job for me there, is what I'm hearing.
But look, you could be a Sigma though. We do got grad chapter.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but
there you go.
Oh yeah.
But seriously, like when it comes to these agencies, they're hiring their friends, their family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how that thin line, because it's like, I'm not going to snitch on my brother. But, and this is what I was talking about earlier, my chief has a daughter who's a police officer. He refuses to hire her.
Yeah. So I was going to say, my bias actually goes hard the other direction. I ain't going to work with anybody where nepotism's a thing.
His daughter went downtown Atlanta. He could have easily gave her a job.
Yep.
Right? But that's going to put him in a situation if something go wrong when it comes to her.
Yeah.
He got to cross that blue line to fire his daughter, to suspend his daughter. That's a situation that he want to do with. So that's where that thin line is broken in my agency. He's not trying to do that.
But are there any situations where it's okay universally to cross that blue line?
It's always okay. I'm crossing. Look, let me tell you this. If I know Royce is an F cop, and Royce is out here violating black folks' rights and just being a a-hole towards all blacks, and me being a black man, if I see it, I'm telling. And when I'm telling everybody. Because at the end of the day, if I'm not a part of the solution, it's going to continue to happen.
Oh, that's a great statement. If I'm not a part of the solution, it's going to continue to happen.
If I'm, and also you got to think about this. If it comes down between my family and this jackass, I'm going to choose my family. I'm not losing everything I've got and earned and everything I've been going through my whole career to lose all that for him. Hell no. I'm out. Hey, Chief, Sarge, LT, this is what he just did. Check the body cam. Check the body cam, sir. Check the body cam. You know what I'm saying? I'm winking. Chief, Sarge, check the body cam. At 2:05, check the body cam.
So let me ask you this though. So, and because I've always wanted to have this conversation as well about snitching. How does that work on the flip side when we're talking about in the Native Black American community? because we have this concept of not snitching when we know stuff is going on. And I know some of it has to do with people being threatened and stuff like that, but there seems to be a culture around, man, he a snitch, he's a bad person. But I'm like, that can be a huge gray area too when somebody, perfect example, R. Kelly here in the Chicagoland area. Listen, anybody who was native Black American from Chicago, which has one of the largest Black American populations in this country, knew in the mid to late 90s that R. Kelly was on some molestation stuff. They knew. We heard it. We saw it. We saw even before the tapes, he was hanging outside of the high schools. So nobody snitched on him. Nobody told on him or the situation. I'm not trying to compare the two, but I am comparing this mindset of when we see something that is blatantly wrong and is systemically or habitually happening, we have to be able to say something about it.
So let me tell you this. People pick and choose when they want people to snitch. They don't want to snitch on their stuff that's going on in the community. They don't want to snitch on these celebrities. They don't want to snitch on their uncle. They don't want to snitch on their cousin. But as soon as the damn cop do something, you want a cop to snitch. Me, like I said, I'm a snitch. I'm going to tell. If I see a bad cop doing something, I'm telling. If I see a bad cop doing something across the nation, I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. Ain't no snitching because I just see what I'm seeing like y'all see. You know what I'm saying? But it's funny, like, the one thing I hear everybody always say when it comes to bad cops, if there were, I hear this all the time. I see two things. The first thing, yo, Bo, where was you when it happened? On my couch in my drawers. I don't like how I'm supposed to help if I'm at the house. But the really main thing people say, if there's so-called so many good cops, why do all these bad cops keep doing dumb stuff? Right?
Yeah. I think that's a fair question.
Right. And my rebuttal is because the bad cops are not doing shit around the good cops.
Okay. I'm processing.
And
processing.
That's just me.
Yeah.
For instance, if you got kids, your kids ain't gonna do nothing. Your kids are the perfect kids while they right there in front of you. Yes, ma'am, no, man. They get them out there in the streets, out there showing their A. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not going to step out of that zone in front of the good cops to risk doing bad stuff. Because they know if I do this in front of Officer Braxton, Officer Johnson, Officer Edwards, Officer Pat, if I do any of this in front of them, he gonna tell on me. So I'm gonna wait until I find somebody else, my homeboy, that think like me. Because like I said, I've never came across none of this. Because the people I work with jam up officers. The people I work with back in the sheriff's office, Edwards, Hogan, Lieutenant Johnson, Lowe, Mitch, man, I can go, Patton, Daniel. I got a whole list of brothers, black men that I worked side by side for years. That we have never had no issue like this because we held each other accountable. Once we hold each other accountable, all this shit is not happening.
Yeah.
Cops are not holding each other accountable. Me, I'm holding you accountable.
All right.
And Harris's point is well taken too. Like that, there's just simply been too many times when the cop that did the reporting was the one reprimanded.
Yeah.
Yep, cops do the reporting because he's part of an agency that allows that to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, my man. We appreciate it. We will be circling back on policing. We appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us on Where's Your Heart. Lots to talk about around this, and we're grateful, man. You just got off of a shift, and I do appreciate the fact that one, you came on our show, but two, that you do go out and you risk your lives to keep the environment safe, to keep people safe, and do what you feel is actually right in your heart, and you show up in a very authentic way. I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right. And any last words? Anything you want the public to hear, or we need to do going forward
Just move
as it comes to policing?
That's it. Just move different.
Move different.
Move different.
All right, move different.
Just
I
move.
say, move different and move better.
Ooh.
Hey, I think
I saw that.
close this segment right there, baby.
Hey. I'm going to hashtag that move.
Hey, we're gonna own that one. All right, man.
Move different and move better. Move different, but move better. What is it? But
There's two hashtags that always go together.
Man, that's right. That's right. All right, man. We appreciate it. We're gonna let you off the hook. Go mob.
Mob.
That was a good conversation, man.
It's huge. Wow.
Woo, and we went over time. I tried, man. He wanted to keep going, so you know.
Well, we're here. I'm deeply grateful for this experience as always. This and for a space where we really can just wrestle with stuff. I'm wearing my jiu-jitsu shirt today. It's kind of a jokey one, fun, but it's one of the this is how we met. But it's also, I think there's something about jiu-jitsu that I think is a lifestyle and a mindset of the people I roll with and contend with and try to choke out, because that's what we've consented to do in that relationship. There's also such a deep respect there, and that's I think that's present here. I feel like it's a safe enough space that I can fuck it up as a white guy sitting in this kind of a space. I know that number one, I'm not going to get away with that fuck up. It's going to be called out. But number two, I also know that we're going to be able to work through this stuff, and I think that's significant. I hope it's a space that more people are able to find right now, because we got to find new ways and different ways to move forward, and that's going to mean fucking up, because we're doing stuff differently, and when you do stuff differently, you oops. That's what happens. So,
well, I think we wrapped it up in exactly what you were saying, and he said it as well, which is, move different and then move better. But the line that really stuck out to me was, and this is for me, I try to approach everything, which is, if I don't do something about it, or if I don't do something different, then it's going to stay the same. And that for me should be the core as to how all of us sees this. And I get, where we are emotionally, and especially the things that are being fed to us when we watch any type of thing with a screen. But we also have to understand that there's an agenda behind that, just like we have an agenda for our show. Our agenda is to bring people together in a way that is centered around courageous vulnerability and hold space where people can dig into their deepest emotions. So we have that intentionality, and I feel we need more of that, as opposed to more of the polarizing. So I know this is how, we've built our show. So I just hope people are more mindful of it. And thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tell all your family and friends if they want this type of environment.
Share it around, and please do post up if you've got a topic for us to chew on, and if you've got a guest that we should be talking to, throw it out there.
Yes. All right. Appreciate it, guys. All right, my man. I'm gonna holler at you later. All right.
Thank you, my friend.
Peace.